Hey there, and welcome to the first episode of the Create With podcast of 2025. I'm James. I'm here with Kieran.
Hello, everyone. Good to be here.
Great to be back after a little bit of a break, but we've got a lot to talk about today. I'm sure, as everyone's aware, there's been so much happening in AI and no code and just in general. So we've got a huge amount to catch up with. And I know that you've been very busy, Kieran, on a couple of projects and a new project as well. So I can't wait to hear about that. So that may actually be a really good place to kick off, is to get a bit of an update on what you've been working on, Kieran, because I know you've been super busy.
Yeah, and well, before I get into that, I should just say we did meet up in person, didn't we? Was it last week or the week before in Brighton? And that was really, really good. Actually hanging out with you and Ash and doing some deep thinking about the conference and Create With as a whole, and where we're going to go with that. So yeah, there'll be some big announcements regarding that coming out soon and over the next few months. I'm really excited about the plans we made. But yeah, in terms of what I've been working on recently, I think I probably mentioned before both of these projects, but they're both continuing to grow and do well. So the first one is a micro SaaS called Typoro, and it is a LinkedIn kind of post writing aid and post scheduler. And I'm working on it with this guy, Pete Callahan, who I only know through like social media, but we've had a couple of calls and we get on well. And he was like, I built this LinkedIn app, which is basically just an AI wrapper that runs off a load of really good prompts that he's got to help him write LinkedIn posts. And he said, do you want to team up on it? And I was like, yeah, that sounds good. So first thing I did was I rebuilt the whole thing in Bullet Launch, because he hadn't got far enough that I was like, there's a lot of like technical debt or something. And I was like, by rebuilding it in Bullet Launch, we'll just give it such a head start in terms of features and things like that and layouts. So I did that. I think I started it on like just before Christmas, and I finished it like before the end of the year, which was like, I didn't have much time to get on my computer over Christmas, but it was super quick. And yeah, it's become quite a slick little app now. It's very simple. It just basically, you just go in, there's a thing that's like, what do you want to write a post about? You just type in your ideas, your thoughts, and then you pick one of the kind of preset formats, which are based on these prompts that Pete's like spent ages refining, and it produces a post which is really well worded, really well written and structured, and ideal for kind of LinkedIn. And although, yeah, you kind of might read it and think this is quite cheesy, but the fact is, like, the LinkedIn algorithm works in a certain way that rewards posts that are written in a certain way, and you need to start each post with a hook, which will mean people will press more and expand so they can read the rest of it. So even if you've written like an amazingly valuable post, unless you get people to click more and actually read the whole thing, then it's kind of wasted time. So he's made it so it kind of optimizes the way the post is written, and we've added in some more little features like you can add a kind of text image, like a fake tweet image, which I've noticed that Justin Welsh uses a lot, or basically every post of his has an attached image that has like a little excerpt of the text. So we built in that feature, and obviously you can schedule it. So the idea is LinkedIn, well, as I've been learning more about the algorithm, LinkedIn wants you to post at least twice a week, but no more than once a day. So it will kind of tell you, remind you each week you need to schedule a few posts, and you can sit down for like 20-30 minutes, bang out a few posts and then schedule them, and then that's all your LinkedIn done for the week. So it's still really early days. We've got like one paying user so far, but that's cool. And we're just constantly thinking of great ideas to improve it. But also Pete is teaching me a lot about marketing. So he's been really on top of like getting a blog up and running. He started publishing all these like SEO optimized posts, making videos, making little tools, which I know you've done for User Loop. So little things that like download a LinkedIn video for free, and it's just sitting on our website, so that generates traffic, and he's good at like, keyword optimization and stuff like that. So I'm learning a lot from him. And then the other one is an AI TikTok video generator. Again, teaming up with another guy, Steven. He had already built the first version of it using a freelancer, but it was built on Bullet Launch as well. And he just asked me if I wanted to team up to like help him refine it and basically get it going. And he's doing a fantastic job on marketing it. We're getting loads of people signing up every day. It's like the product itself is like fairly robust, but obviously it's quite a lot more complicated than Typoro, because we are generating videos entirely using AI. The whole script, the images are all then put together with like sound effects and a voiceover and stuff. So it's quite a lot more complex than Typoro. But yeah, it's a solid product, and we've got quite a lot of people using it. So they're both really exciting, and yeah, they're both teaching me a lot about marketing. And I'm excited about both the technical side, but more about like figuring out how these guys are able to market things so effectively, which I know you're already pretty good at, but you can always learn more about marketing, I think.
Yeah, I know. I'm definitely always trying to learn as much as I can about marketing. So, yeah, it is so hard. So I'm really excited to learn from you over the next few weeks, all the stuff you're picking up as you're kind of growing those, because it sounds like you've got some great initial traction, and great to have first paying users as well. That's a good validation. So excited to follow that along, and also just all the different APIs you're using for doing everything as well. Because I've worked a little bit with the LinkedIn APIs before, and I know that was a bit of a pain to get set up, and all these other AI APIs you must be using. So that will be great to talk about that a little bit as well over the coming weeks.
Yeah, the LinkedIn API is for sure very confusing, because seem to have like multiple versions. They've got loads of different docs. Some of them are talking about a different API, and it's hard to figure out like which one you want to use. But as I said to Pete, like all of these little challenges we're coming across are kind of a barrier to entry for anyone else who wants to do the same tool. So I kind of see them as a good thing. Like if we can figure it out and it's complicated and difficult, that means there'll be less people who are going to pop up and just make the same thing. So yeah, that's a good thing. But also learning a lot about prompt engineering as well, because the way Pete has structured his prompts, and also we have like another feature where once a post is generated, you can apply some more kind of prompts to it to like make it shorter, make it more punchy, and make it more casual. But the way you word the prompts, if you word like I foolishly said in like the follow-on prompt, I said like, you are a social media manager and your job is to like rewrite this post. And because I'd said you're a social media manager and your job is to rewrite the post, it kind of took it to mean it's starting from scratch again. Like, and it started ignoring parts of the earlier prompt. And then Pete was like, okay, I've discovered that if you don't mention its role again and you just say rewrite this post following these instructions, then it will remember the old instructions. But little things like that, I mean, it just shows you that AI is really not as smart as we kind of hope it is yet, because you have to be so careful about the way you word the prompts. And definitely we've seen it like ignoring loads of stuff from prompts for seemingly no reason, but it might just be a wrong word here or there that causes it. So yeah, that's been pretty interesting.
Yeah, the whole kind of prompt writing is like a real skill in itself. And I've used a couple of tools actually recently that have really helped with very, very long and complex prompts. Like Anthropic in their developer console actually have like a prompt improver tool, which will like you can put your prompt in and then it will restructure it and put it into the most logical order to be executed and stuff. So I found that quite interesting. It kind of like if you put in your original prompt, it goes through kind of 5 iterations, like you can see it kind of rejigging everything around. So that's been quite interesting. But yeah, 100%, like just changing 1 or 2 words in a prompt can like either make or break the entire output that you get. So it's definitely a complicated one, and of course it's different on every model as well. So if you're switching between OpenAI or Claude or X or any of the different ones, then yeah, the outputs are different. Like, and the prompting has to be a bit different for each as well.
Yeah, and I'm discovering that, like, it's, if you tell it to take its time, instead of just saying do this, you say take your time and do this. It gives you a better output. If you then tell it, like, there's a trick where you say it answers, and then you say that's a level 1 response, give me a level 2 response which goes deeper. And then when it responds, then you say that's a level 2 response, give me a level 3 response that goes even deeper. And the level 3 response is like magnitudes better than the first answer it gave you. But it's literally as simple as just give me a better response, give me a better response. And if you ask that, you go to the trouble of asking that, you'll get something that's much, much better. But like, you can't really just rely on the first response it gives you. So it's pretty fascinating. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on, I read Justin Jackson wrote in his newsletter the other day that he reckons that perhaps we kind of reached the limit of how good LLMs can get. And this is, for the foreseeable future, this might be what we're stuck with, which personally, I find that quite reassuring. I like how kind of a bit clunky it is, and it's, you can't really imitate a human that well. I kind of like that. I'd be happy to stick at this level we're at now, rather than like, in the next few years, it's going to be better than a human at everything. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think from a lot of the stuff you read, like, a lot of the focus is shifting from kind of improving the underlying LLMs to the like the stuff that's around it. So like building out like agent frameworks, operators, letting it actually complete tasks. But I mean, we've seen, like, obviously there's lots of rumors going around about the O3 model that's going to come out, and people at OpenAI are saying, oh, this is going to blow your mind when you get to use it. So I think there probably is a little bit of improvement, but it's not the big. I guess it's like how the iPhone matured. The jumps don't feel as big in the actual underlying LLMs at the moment, like compared to the wows we were getting a year or two ago. But I suspect, a lot of the wow moments we're going to be getting are around things like agents and operators, and like some of the demos that we've seen about that over recent days has been amazing. And obviously new models coming out like DeepSeek that's causing all that buzz at the moment, that's apparently being trained using way less processing power than what OpenAI have done. So stuff becoming more efficient, and being able to host and run models yourself, and all this kind of stuff is kind of coming to the fore as well as not so much focusing on the underlying models. But I think there is going to be a lot of exciting stuff come out around that. I'm particularly excited to see what OpenAI release with their APIs around agents and operators as well. I think that'll be really interesting. I mean, the thing that caught my eye about DeepSeek in particular, and why I'm kind of curious to really experiment with it, is its ability to do web search and stuff like that built into it. So obviously in my app, like we've spoken about before, I'm using Perplexity's APIs to do web searching and bring back structured data. But if you could do that natively within the model itself, that would be really cool. So looking forward to trying that. Also, the cost of it is insanely cheap, which is, I think, what's got so many people really excited about it. And as of today, I think I've seen it's number 1 in the US App Store. Like, it's overtaken ChatGPT, which is incredible. So it's really going to be interesting to see how that plays out over the next few weeks. But yeah, incredibly exciting time. I mean, the other thing I've been experimenting a bit with is building agents. So I've been trying with N8N, like self-hosting that. Trying it. I've tried a few different ways of self-hosting it, actually, because I've been reading so much about it. And obviously, I've probably mostly been using like Zapier and Make, but I'm reading so much about N8N being kind of the tool of choice in particular for agents, because you can do so much complex stuff with it. That I've been trying that out, and hosting it on like DigitalOcean was pretty straightforward. Like, it took 5 minutes to probably get it up and running, and then obviously you're kind of running it for next to nothing, which is really cool. And I've heard people, even on small instances, being able to run hundreds of thousands of workflows on it, which is very, very interesting. I think for me, the thing that kind of held me back with N8N getting too deep into it was I think that some of the terms of the license of it are a little interesting. Like, particularly if you were thinking of using it for an element of the back end of your SaaS. I think that there's some kind of restriction that you can't process like user data through it or something like that. So that kind of restricts its use to putting third-party data through it. I think that was as I understood it anyway, that was the kind of the limitation, even when you're self-hosting it. So that's it's more of a thing for using for your own internal kind of automations. But what I'm kind of experimenting with it at the moment is automating some customer service stuff with it, like sending out personalized emails and follow-ups and getting feedback and stuff from users, doing it through those kind of agents in that. So that's going to be really interesting to follow along. Because I did share in my newsletter a couple of weeks ago a post from Jonas Tempelstein who was one of the co-founders of Monzo. He's been writing really interesting stuff around this concept of self-driving startups, right? So applying that kind of naming, and the whole levels of 1 to 5 of self-driving cars to startups. And I think a lot of people were saying we're kind of around level 2 at the moment. Like, you can use AI to help you build the startup, but it's not at the point where the startup can run itself at the moment. I think I'm definitely really interested in trying to learn as much as I can about how to automate as much as possible with the startup. So customer support, sales, marketing, and building the app itself. Obviously, I'm kind of using AI a lot like you are to write code for the app and to do stuff for it. But yeah, I think that's something over the next year. We are going to see more and more startups that are autonomous effectively and running themselves. So that's something I'm super, super interested in kind of trying to learn as much as I can and do as much as I can with User Loop, automated as well, and make it as autonomous as possible. It's already pretty good. Like, I think, the fact that I'm able to run it pretty much myself is pretty good, but I would like to be able to do more and more. So yeah, that's been super interesting over the last few weeks to kind of dive a bit into that.
Yeah, I'd love to learn more about that. I mean, my gut reaction when someone says self-driving startup, I'm like, oh my God, you're going to take away like the one thing that's fun in my life, which is like building startups, and you're going to just get an AI to do it. So what am I going to do? What are we all going to do? But the reality is, and I was discussing this with someone yesterday, like the AI is hopefully going to take away all of the manual and boring processes. So like all the marketing that me and Pete are doing for Typoro is quite manual at the moment. We actually have to sit down and record like videos, and he has to do blog posts and stuff like that. If you could automate all that repetitive work, it would then free you up. Like, you might have to think hard, like what is my time best spent on, like what is the ultimate goal of this, but you would be able to actually sit and think and strategize and do some of the deeper, higher level work, which is ultimately more interesting and just avoiding some of the busy work. So yeah, that is really exciting. I would definitely like to offload a lot of that stuff, particularly marketing. I mean, the building part I really enjoy, and to be honest, I don't really want to be just like writing a prompt and my entire app appears. Even if that were possible, I wouldn't really want to do that because I really enjoy that side of things. So yeah, hopefully it can take those bits that you don't really enjoy or aren't really good at, and you'd just be able to like say, okay, make me a marketing plan. This sounds good, right? Execute on that, and it will just go off and start doing all this stuff for you, which would be brilliant.
Yeah. And I think that's largely how I'm envisioning it will work, is like you'll essentially have swarms of agents that can go out and do specific tasks and then kind of report back to you for your decisions. So maybe like one example might be you might get a ton of user feedback that your billing page is confusing. Well, then maybe the AI can go and mock up a load of new UI options for that billing page and say, okay, out of all these, which ones do you want? And you're like, oh, I like option 1, but can we tweak X, Y, Z? And then it goes and deploys it. Like that to me is like, that's like superhuman building level. That would be amazing. And yeah, to help with marketing as well, like everyone knows, like running any kind of ad campaign in Meta, for example, is a nightmare. If I could have an agent go away and build and set up a whole campaign in Meta and Google Ad Console and report back to me how it was doing and automatically optimize it, that would be amazing. So there's tons of stuff there.
Yeah, it's just the way that AI is now, with like how temperamental it is in terms of like the results you get, even from a simple prompt. And like the other day, I was uploading a load of documents to ChatGPT to try and like talk to ChatGPT about the documents, and it was basically lying to my face, saying it had read one of the documents when it clearly hadn't, but it was being very convincing in the stuff it was saying. And that made me think, like, how can we trust these agents? Like, I know people are saying it's amazing for writing code with, and I'd like to hear your experiences about this, because I know you've been doing a load of AI generated code with user loop. But I just don't see how you can rely on its ability to write code if it can't even write good English or really take instructions very well. But yeah, I'd love to hear more about what you've done with that. And also, I know from your recent newsletter that you've been moving user loop over to Supabase, I think. So we'd love to talk about that a bit.
Yeah, that's probably a good. They kind of segue into each other quite a bit as well. So yeah, I've been writing quite a bit about already how I've been using AI generated code with Cloudflare workers, for example. And for me, I think that's where it works so well at the moment. So I probably have made, I don't know, like 50 different little Cloudflare workers that do specific things for my app. And essentially what they are is a little a mini API, you can think about it, of that you've built yourself, and you can call, it does something, and then it returns something to you. So I'm using it for lots of the AI functionality or the very high throughput stuff. So like getting responses into the survey, like augmenting the data and storing it in the database, all that kind of thing, which if you're using Bubble to do that, can get a bit pricey. So I think it's knowing where to use Bubble, use kind of AI generated code in a Cloudflare worker, and how to tie all these tools together. So yeah, I kind of still have the bulk of the app and all the management stuff in Bubble. But as you say, yeah, I've been looking at Supabase for a couple of years, and I think what finally kind of made me really go for it was they've built a fantastic AI assistant into it, for one, which is amazing and helps you get everything set up and make sure all the security is tight and everything. And just helps you with managing and creating tables and relationships and all that kind of stuff. So you don't really need to know a lot of that. Because when I first looked at Supabase a while ago, it was very, very technical, and as like a non-program or a non-coder person, it was very kind of intimidating. But now I think with the AI assistant built into it, and Claude being so excellent at writing queries for it, it's really powerful. So yeah, I've been moving the big part of my app into Supabase, and it's been fantastic actually, and it's allowed me to build a ton of features that have been on my wish list for years, but I've just never been able to do because they required kind of very complex querying of the data. Some of the features I'm about to release in it are really, really, really cool, and like doing very complex mathematical stuff on like adding up responses and working out revenues and all this kind of stuff that I just wouldn't have been able to do. But all of the code behind that's all been generated by Claude, and the underlying queries and everything. So yeah, I've just been in the process of testing all that. But it I think, like in that newsletter I wrote, it all forms part of my new kind of dream stack, I guess, for building no-code SaaS, which is Bubble as my core, and that manages all the UI and really the core database stuff. So like users, what plan they're on, their preferences, all that kind of stuff I just keep in Bubble. But then for tables that I know are going to be very, very big, then I'm doing that in Supabase, and using a fantastic plugin for Supabase in Bubble by No Code Garden, which is fantastic and lets you do all sorts of stuff like generating tokens, for example. So for every user I have in Bubble, I generate a Supabase token that lets them only access the records that they're entitled to and stuff like that, which sounds complicated, but it's really not that bad. And I'm going to write quite a bit about how I've done all of this. So I think that might be a blocker why some people haven't considered Supabase as well, because I didn't want to use the Supabase auth because I had everything already set up in Bubble. So this generating tokens allows you to kind of do that and just use Supabase as a data store, which is great. And of course, Supabase also works great with Cloudflare workers. So if you want to do, like, for example, if you wanted to build a Cloudflare worker that would pull 10,000 records from Supabase and then summarize them with AI and then provide a response back, that's all fairly easy to do. And again, you're not using any Bubble workflow units to do that, because you're pulling it from Supabase and you're running it in Cloudflare. So stuff like that is very, very cool. And I'm just super impressed with both Supabase and Cloudflare, how developer friendly they are, how great the docs are, and how quickly they're iterating as well. They're really kind of building out the platform really quick. So yeah, been really fun to get to know Supabase a bit, because I'd read about it like everyone has so much, but it's been quite eye-opening to use it properly now. So that's been good.
Yeah, and it's super interesting that you've been able to do this all, years after you started building your app, and it's had, tons of users, and you've been able to kind of migrate the database away from Bubble and also some of the functionality off into code. So like, it's kind of an answer to all the people who say, is it going to be able to handle like 50,000 concurrent users and all this stuff in the database? And you can say, well, here's an example of someone who built their app to a point where it was pretty successful, and then they decided, there are some benefits to moving some stuff off Bubble, and they've been able to do it. So yeah, I think it's a really good case study actually. And I'm sure there are loads of other people who've done similar, but I've not really heard about them many. I know there's a lot of people like My Ask AI, who I interviewed Alex Rainey a while back, and yeah, they're still using the Bubble database, and they've got like 70,000 kind of AI driven conversations going through their app every month. So like decent scale, but they are happy with the Bubble database. So I think totally depending on the use case and specific needs, like obviously your app has like a huge volume of queries and things like that you need to run all the time. But it's great to know that you can have like a hybrid stack, and you can switch between them depending on what the use case is and when you need to do it. So that's good. I mean, my experience recently just from building like Typoro and auto clips has been, I'm still just blown away by the speed I can make a new feature in Bubble. Like literally Pete will be like, what do you think about this feature? And I'll be like, yeah, okay, I'll get back to you in half an hour, and I'll have it like built and on test, and then he'll test it and I'll be like, yeah, put it live. And it's just so quick to do things which I think otherwise would be quite complicated. And then obviously there are things that take a long time to do, but a lot of kind of smaller features can just be done in 30 minutes or less. It's just crazy. I don't believe that even AI generated code could do that. Like I think it would take too long writing the prompt and getting it to fix itself. Did you find that like every time you write a prompt it generates the code correctly first time, or is it like quite a long process of back and forth and that doesn't work, fix this error kind of thing?
Yeah, there's I think like the more you get used to writing the prompts, you can kind of reduce the number of cycles you have to go through to get stuff perfect, because you kind of just like in your very first prompt you describe it so clearly. But yeah, like usually there is a few rounds of improvements, but again, it works really great where you take any error message you get, or if you get a query error in Supabase or an error in Cloudflare, you take the error, put it back into the AI, and it kind of helps you work out where to make the improvements or what to change, and then gives you the new code, and you can run it and see what happens. So yeah, it's been pretty good like that. So it's you don't have to go through many rounds of iteration usually, I've found.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, a lot of the little micro tools that Pete has built for our Typoro website. So it's a Framer website. The Bubble app is on a subdomain. But he's just made these little tools just by asking ChatGPT, generate me the code. And then he'll just copy the code into a code block on Framer, and it's just there. And it like literally took him like 5 minutes to get ChatGPT to write the code. And then it just works, and it's got a UI and everything. And then if he needs to tweak it, he just goes back and asks it to update. And they all look like, an app that someone has built, like a one-page interface app. So yeah, it's really cool, the stuff you can do. I never would have thought to do it like that. Actually, I probably would have tried to build it in Bubble and then put it in a iframe or something. But yeah, obviously if you get it done in code, then usually it's free to run if it's like something simple.
100%. Yeah. So I think that this kind of hybrid model is definitely something we're going to cover more and more, I think. But I think, like a lot of people say, Bubble's real value is through the visual workflow editor and being able to really see exactly how everything's working. Whereas if the whole app was 100% in AI generated code, you might not always know what everything's doing. But having that balance where you can do certain things with the AI code and certain things with the visual editor in Bubble and workflows and UI and stuff, it's a great way of mixing stuff up together. So I noticed we're just coming towards the end of our half hour here. So we're picking up on a more regular schedule now for the rest of this year. And like Kieran said at the beginning, we've got a ton of really exciting announcements about Create With coming out soon. So at the conference and everything that's happening with it. So everything is very much in motion with that. So yeah, if you are interested in coming along, the next Create With conference to do with everything to do with AI and no code. It's happening in London on May the 22nd. It's Thursday this time, back at Plexel in Here East. And if you do want to get your tickets, the early bird prices are still there for a bit longer. So if you head to createwith.com, there isn't long to get them now. So it's really good to get them locked in at the current price. So head over there, and there's going to be a ton of announcements about speakers, sponsors, and other exciting stuff coming out very soon. So it's a good idea to get your tickets locked in while you can. So that is it for this week. We're going to be back very soon. But yeah, Kieran, any other final thoughts?
Well, no, I was just thinking maybe the phrase of the future is going to be hybrid code rather than no code or code. I think this hybrid approach is definitely something that we're going to be talking about a lot, and especially at the conference as well. I reckon there'll be a load of people talking about it. So I'm excited to see how 2025 plays out in that respect, and yeah, what the future of building apps is going to look like.
Exactly, and our app's even going to be a thing. Like we've seen a lot of kind of people saying, AI is just going to be on top of a database, and there won't be any UI at all. So it's going to be interesting to cover that as well. And at the conference, we're going to have people talking about agents and apps and design and all the different elements of it. So it really is going to be a good primer for what's coming up with hybrid apps, AI, no code. So lots to look forward to there. So that's it for this week. Thanks so much for listening. And as always, you can head to createwith.com for tickets. Find us on X at createwithhq. We love to hear your feedback. But that's it for this week. So we will see you again very soon. Thanks very much.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye-bye.